Hello, and welcome back to my channel. It's been well over a few months, but I'm coming back strong this time. In this one, Deku will be Ultron. Now, first I'll kind of explain what happens, like usual, and then I'll actually get into the story. So, all this happened before Quirk started to manifest. Uh, so he was a ordinary person, and he excelled in everything. He was pretty much peak human all throughout his life. It got to a point where he was working in pretty much what would become one of the most uh, prominent, pro, uh, prominent tech companies in the entire world, and was working there, and he was working on a project. Nobody really knew what it was, but whatever he needed, they would get for him because everybody loved him. Deku hated everybody there because they would always talk to each other. They didn't really do their work, and to him it seemed like even though they were supposed to be on the same level as him, they were pretty much just people to that he could use to just go and get him stuff. Like they never even did their own work. They would ask Deku to do for a project idea, and then they would just quick throw some stuff together. Deku hated them. So, but people loved him and the idea that he had. He decided that like they loved the idea that hey, Deku's going to be pretty much copying his brain into a robot and giving it pretty much copying his brain format and putting it into a robot. So this robot will have peak intelligence, pretty much know everything in the entire world. But it won't be Deku, it will be its own thing. It will still have bits of Deku, like his personality and stuff, and his smartness and, somewhat rudeness. But other than that, it's pretty much its own thing. So Deku makes this, and at first he's like, it fucking works. Yes. For the first, well, let's say week, for the first week. But after that, he starts to see that in its programming and what it wants to do, it starts to get a little iffy. To him, he was okay with humans and everything. He saw that the world was okay, but for the robot, it had already outcome. It had already it already knew what was going to happen in the next 1,000 years before it even happened, just on the data it collected on human DNA and the current political and social uh, stuff that was going on in the world. It calculated everything, the quirks manifesting, what future heroes would do, the future heroes and what would happen to them. Like it calculated so much that it already had precautions for every single villain and big threat, like way before it even happened. Now to it, quirks were just an evolution, so it didn't really care about that. But what came from the quirks is what it feared and what it wanted to stop. Because from the quirks came both villains and heroes, and anti-villains and anti-heroes, and all that stuff. And it did not like that because it thought that from that happening, everything would change in a bad way. And he wasn't half wrong. Because in this world, heroes aren't as good as they are in My Hero Academia, like in the actual series. Most of them are corrupt. The only ones that aren't corrupt are the newcomers and the original generations that just wanted to do good. So, like, I know All Might wasn't one of the original ones, but let's just say that he's one of the original heroes. So a lot of the original heroes were good, and a lot of the new heroes are good. But the middle, they're arrogant, they're self-centered, and they think that they could do whatever they want because because they're heroes and they have power. The villains are almost like those arrogant heroes, but they only do bad. They think that because of their quirks, that they can do whatever they want, not because of the power that they hold. So, Deku didn't really want Ultron to start doing stuff that seemed bad, like creating an entire army of robots to stop these villains instantly. So what he did was he decided to have a conversation with what he was calling what the word is hmm, let's say he called it dang, I didn't even think of a name. Let's say he just called it not Ultron, but Ult. He called it Ult because he was smart, whatever, doesn't matter. He called it Ult. And over time, Ult decided to change its name and lengthen it to Ultron. And Deku was okay with that because he wanted this robot to make its own decisions. Now, Deku was talking with it and said, I understand that you pretty much predicted everything. And so far, the predictions are that you made, a few days ago to happen, in a few weeks, seem like they're going to happen soon, like you said. So, to make sure that you don't create an entire army and put us on all the government's hit lists to make sure that we don't do anything bad with those, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you with a gigantic base and a ton of resources on Mars. I'm going to put a little station on the moon so that you could still see everything, but your main home now will be on Mars. And I don't hate you, okay? I love you. You're the best creation I ever did. But we can't have you making an entire army out of the blue. You could explain yourself, yes. But that would probably cause more discussions than we would want. And Ultron was completely okay with this because he almost had the same mindset as Zuko. So then it happens. Ultron is sent with a base and a ton of resources to Mars, and he starts drilling and doing stuff on Mars to create his army and his cities and stuff. And, I'm not really sure when My Hero Academia takes place, but let's say it takes place, let's see. Let's say 100 years from when he was created. Let's say he was created in 2030, because by then we'd probably be able to, probably not even then, but in that world, probably they'd be able to copy and paste somebody's brain pattern. Anyway, in the year 2130, they finally are able to they're finally able to, give trips to Mars and stuff. Now, they did send rovers there, but it was for short trips. They never really kept it there for long, or even, had the cameras on for long. So they never really were really able to find Ultron's bases. And on the moon, they kind of got bored of that, so nobody really went there anymore. Now, Ultron had been looking over the world, and he finally saw it, that his, predictions were finally coming to fruition. People had quirks. Heroes were arrogant. Villains were horrible. Only a good amount of heroes were actually good. And he was like, this is when I should go back down there. Now, to him, Izuku was like his father, because he made him, he gave him good advice and stuff like that. Izuku was practically his dad. So in his mind, he's thinking, would my dad let me do this now? It's been 100 years. Is he even alive? Now, in that time, yes, Deku is actually still alive. He's still one of the leading scientists and stuff. And a lot of heroes and stuff like that go to him to, ask him how they could improve their quirks, like and to have some ideas for some hero gear. And although Deku has seen the same things that Ultron has seen, he still helps them because we gotta remember Izuku is a part of the generation that didn't have quirks like a long time before. And the only way Izuku's been able to live is because, he's been doing stuff to himself to make sure that he can prolong his life. He's still like an old geezer. Like, he's 120 something. Like, that's old. Jeez, I'm sorry, guys. It's really late. But anyway, he's like, even now, that's like incredibly old. To get to 100, or even 101, that's old. I think the oldest person in our world was like 120. But yeah, anyway, it's getting pretty late. In the next episode tomorrow, I'll be talking about what Ultron actually does and stuff, and what Izuku's reaction to it's going to be, and what the world's reaction to it's going to be. So yeah, see you guys tomorrow.